One day, when I was a student, I was rushing through the town centre at lunchtime. I saw a homeless person collapsed on the ground in front of me. I was distracted and didn't have time to think, so I just stepped over him. And I don't mean I walked around him, I literally stepped right over him and walked on. It was about 10 steps further on that I began to process what had happened. I kept walking, but there was this weight within me, like a physical heaviness. I just knew it was wrong to ignore someone in such need, however busy I was, and my steps got slower and slower and slower. Eventually, I stopped in my tracks and turned around. He was still there. I went back and sat with him for a while. He came round, we talked. We managed to contact someone he knew, and he found somewhere safe to stay that afternoon. I'm not pretending I was some sort of hero. It's exactly the opposite. I didn't care. But even when I had walked on, I couldn't get rid of this voice within me. I think it was the voice of conscience. Our moral conscience, in the Christian understanding, calls us to do good and to avoid evil, to do the right thing and avoid what is wrong. It's not just a feeling or an instinct, it's like an understanding or an inner voice. It speaks to our freedom, it connects us with the goodness of God. We have a duty to follow our conscience. If we don't, something within us can never settle. We might pretend that everything is fine, but there is an inner conflict. We lose our spiritual peace and our integrity. We also have a duty to form our conscience and to grow in virtue. Most of us inherit a lot of assumptions and prejudices and pick up a lot of bad habits along the way. So we need to deepen our understanding about what is truly right and wrong. For a Christian, this involves prayer and listening to the Holy Spirit. It involves studying the Bible and following the teaching of the Church. Conscience is not just an inner voice, it's an openness to the truth, wherever that can be found. It's an openness to Jesus Christ, ultimately, who is the way, the truth, and the life. St. Thomas More gave a great example of following conscience, whatever the cost. He was a lawyer and scholar in the 16th century and became England's most senior politician. But he came into conflict with King Henry VIII over the question of divorce and the unity of the Church. Many of his friends encouraged him to agree with the king. He tried to find a compromise, but he felt he couldn't swear to something or sign something if he believed it was untrue. He couldn't betray his conscience. So King Henry had him executed in the Tower of London. The truth is such an important value, and one that is often devalued today. There is so much fake news in the media, and we can all become very casual about the truth. We cut corners and tell white lies, and sometimes we can get tangled up in terrible lies. Christian teaching is very clear, and it follows the 10 Commandments in the Bible. You must not bear false witness against your neighbour. It's wrong, in other words, to lie. We're called to seek the truth and to speak truthfully. Now, it doesn't mean that in every situation we're required to share the whole truth. It depends on the circumstances. And not everyone has a right to know what we're thinking. But we must avoid outright lies. Sometimes the truth requires us to speak up. St. Oscar Romero was a priest in El Salvador who had a great love for Christ. Through the 1970s, he became more and more aware of the hardship of the poor and the violence of the government security forces. In 1977, he was chosen to be Archbishop of San Salvador. The political conflict was intensifying. There was electoral fraud torture, government-sponsored death squads. Archbishop Romero became the voice of the voiceless. He spoke out against the killings and the injustice from the cathedral pulpit. And he kept speaking even when the death threats multiplied. On the 24th of March 1980, Romero was shot and killed while he was celebrating Mass. He was a martyr for truth, for justice, and for conscience. I hope that I will never have to face the horror that Oscar Romero faced. But I also hope that I would have the same love that motivated him, the same passion for truth and justice, and the same willingness, when the moment comes, to stand up for my conscience and for the truth.